That apparently was part of the negotiation technique. They've been asked as a goodwill gesture to allow those ships through, and that, it is said, is what President Trump was alluding to. Let's talk now to Middle East policy expert Harley Lippman. Good evening, Harley. We have you on the show regularly. We could pretty much have you on every night and we could talk about this from a different angle, couldn't we? What was the significant lines that emerged in this narrative for you today? What should we be considering this evening, Harley?
Well, I think this all comes down to a test of will. It's who can escalate more, and it's clearly the United States is able to do it. But does the President of the United States have the will to have a longer conflict with Iran? Because we're fighting a war with Iran now without Iran having nuclear weapons. The only alternative to this war is to fight Iran when they get nuclear weapons. And just think what that could look like.
If we've just heard those extraordinary statistics about thousands, over 10,000 targets having been struck, what do Iran have left, Harley? And if this line is true that Russia is now providing drones, how much will that potentially drag this out?
Well, again, it goes back to what I said about willpower. This is messy. This is costly. And it will continue to be so. There's no easy solution. There just isn't any. At the end of the day, if you don't break Iran, they will hold the world hostage and they will blackmail the world. Again, they're on the path to develop nuclear weapons. Just think how bold and aggressive they'll be and the immunity they'll have from being attacked by anyone, America, Israel, or anybody else. They've crossed so many red lines to show that they are a destructive force to themselves and to the world. What I worry about, though, is that we are looking at Iran through our logical Western eyes, and even President Trump says they'll be hit even harder. The problem with that is I don't think they care what happens to their people. Their people are impoverished already, so clearly they don't care about their own people. So I wonder, even hitting them harder and harder, will that stop Iran? I think they're desperate. They'll continue to fight, but it's how you define success. America is winning when you downgrade a military opponent within a matter of weeks of destroying their Navy, their Air Force, 80–90% of their missile capacity. That's a tremendous victory. But everybody thinks in perfect terms or in 100%. No, very few things in life are 100%. Things are not black and white. They could still fire drones out of desperation. They're resilient, but they're not strong. Don't confuse resilience with strength. They're very, very weak. And this is where we have an important responsibility to the world. I'm particularly worried about Europe. How irrelevant and impotent Europe continues to be. How they won't even defend their own self-interests. They now see that Iran has the ability to reach Europe. This has surprised people. Look at their missile firing at Diego Garcia. Nobody thought they even had that capacity. Just think how we may be underestimating how close they are to enriching uranium, to developing a nuclear bomb. They're regardless of the various experts, yes.
I'm just interested that you're talking about that in the present tense, Harley. You're saying that we may be underestimating how close they are to enriching uranium. Is it not yet how close they were to enriching uranium?
Great point. But if there is a ceasefire, they'll reconstitute their nuclear program. We don't even know where all their enriched uranium is. Even in June, we didn't get the biggest site. It's called, I think, Hijack Mountain or something like that. We didn't even attack that. Okay. We didn't know about that. We attacked 2 other areas. So again, we don't have perfect intelligence. We have very good intelligence. We do very well, but wars are very messy. There's unintended consequences and there are surprises. And the enemy always has a vote. That doesn't mean we're losing. It's just that we've got complacent in our lives. And we think that we don't have to defend freedom. But again, if you don't do it,
And
the world will change.
go on. And is part of the issue, Harley, that maybe has been underestimated is the terrain of Iran is vast and problematically mountainous for an incursion like this. Is that fair to say? But that surely doesn't come as a surprise to President Trump. But maybe there's been an element of underestimation of how difficult that would be.
Could be. Wars are like that. Look at World War II. Look at any other war before. Almost all wars come with surprises. You know, the first rule of warfare is never underestimate your enemy. Second rule of warfare is never think they can't recover from disaster. Third and last rule is never have contempt for your enemy. We may be guilty of that. We may make mistakes. That doesn't mean the intentions are wrong. Again, if you go back to looking at the lessons of World War II, we made huge terrible mistakes in the very beginning. All the Western nations fighting Nazi Germany lost battles and made terrible mistakes. That didn't mean that the war effort was wrong, just because we had losses and we underestimated our enemy. It's the same thing here. We think of easy solutions. We have unrealistic notions of what Iran represents. Iran has given the world in the last 47 years, and I mean the regime, not the people, but nothing but fear and terror and war. They have acted as colonialists by conquering Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. And we are just capitulating. The world has to this. They're not stopping. But the only alternative is either you have war now, where they're the most weak they've ever been, or you will have a war in the near future when they're going to be dramatically stronger. That's the only options that exist. And we think that because we want to negotiate, that they want to negotiate. And I think that that's just an illusion.
Okay, thank you, Harley. Great as always. Harley Lippman there, joining us to illuminate a little bit about the time frame particularly. It all starts to feel a bit bleak, Niall Gardner.